All right, welcome on in, everybody. So today's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little more participatory by the students, you. I'll give you kind of a rundown of the way the exam's going to work for this week, and then basically you'll ask questions because the review is going to be student-driven. So we'll take a look at how this works. So first thing I want to show you is, see here at the end of Chapter 4, there's the practice exam discussion board. You get points for this. So do it. It's worth 10 points. Basically, it'll go in with your homework assignment grade. So it's a pretty easy 10 points to get. Come in here, make some kind of comment about the exam. Some kind of meaningful comment, right? So remember, so here, why don't I go ahead and click on it, and I'll kind of I'll bring this up again because people are kind of, probably there'll be a few more people showing up later. This is a graded discussion, so you get 10 points for it. So pretty easy assignment. You go into a discussion board and you make a post. So leave a meaningful post to receive credit. You know, don't just tell someone, hey, good job, because that's not really going to do it. Post below to ask questions about the upcoming exam. So if you have a question about a problem or how to do a specific problem on there, ask the question, right? Or answer someone else's question. So you only have to leave one post to get credit, one comment, but you might as well use this as a way to communicate with each other and try to get help. Now, this class is a little on the small side, so it might be a little trickier to get help, but that's kind of the idea. So come in here if you're like, oh, I don't understand how to do this one problem, or I don't understand how to use the graph on this problem, right? Screenshots are helpful. If you post a screenshot and then say, hey, for some reason it's not working correctly or something, and then someone can help you out. You, of course, are always welcome to come to me or the tutoring center and get help on any of these problems as well as you prepare for the exam. But also, I sort of want you to use this as well so that you can help each other with different stuff. So it's the 10 points possible, easy 10 points to get. It's like an easy homework assignment. You just either answer someone else's question or leave your own question. And then hopefully if you come in here and you see someone else ask a question and you already left a comment and you're like, well, I already got my points, maybe answer someone's question for them. Try to help each other out, right? You're all hopefully helping each other through this, or you can be a resource to help each other through this. Again, there's always the tutoring center on campus, which you're a Ventura College student, so you totally have the right to use that tutoring center. You can do it through Zoom, just like we're doing this right now. This meeting, the tutoring center has its own Zoom sessions. And then, of course, you can come to my office hours. So, right, so you should do that. All right, now the practice test. So I've made a practice exam here. You can see there's a bunch of stuff on here. Now, the practice exam is longer than the test, so don't panic. The exam will not be this long, but this is an example of the types of problems that you can expect to see on the test. So you should be able to do all of these, hopefully, by the time we get there, right? So if you go through and do the test now, maybe you can do some of them. Maybe there's some of them you can't do, but that tells you which ones you need to work on before the actual test shows up, okay? So, but no surprises here. You're going to be solving some systems of equations. You're going to do some of the contextual stuff with systems of equations. You're going to find the equation of a line from points. You're going to evaluate functions. You're going to use the graphs. These are basically all taken from homework problems. So you've done problems like this previously. Maybe not that exact problem. Maybe it's slightly different, but none of this stuff should be like brand new, surprising, or shocking to you. Okay, you should hopefully have seen this and are comfortable with it previously in the semester. Now, remember how it counts with where you have to earn points to get to the next section? Like you have to do 2 of these 2-step equations right to get your 2 points and then move on to fraction linear equations. Now, what will happen on the test is I'll reduce these. So see how some of these it's going to make you do 2 problems correct in order to move on? I probably will reduce a lot of those to 1s. There's no point in having you do a bunch of the same type of problem. I'm having you do it for the practice, but those will be reduced. So that's already going to be shorter. So like if this thing takes you a few hours to get through, don't panic and go, man, this test is going to be rough. I'm going to shorten this for the exam. So don't panic as far as time. I tend to not have students run out of time. I'm actually going to give you a very large period of time to do the test. Okay, like hours to do the test. So even though the actual test hopefully wouldn't take more than an hour to do, some students like to work at a really slow pace on a test, which is not a bad idea. So maybe up to 90 minutes. But I wouldn't expect you to spend 3 or 4 hours working on the test, but you probably will have 3 or 4 hours working on the test. This does a couple things. One, it allows you to be relaxed. You're not panicked. Oh my God, I got to move through these questions. I'm not going to finish in time. I got to keep looking at the clock. Pick a time where you have a nice big gap. No one's going to be asking you to do anything for them. It's quiet. You can really just focus on this, sit down and work through it. You probably won't need the full time, but it's there if you need it. Okay? Like you'll have a lot of time. Anyone who has the school has given special accommodations, testing accommodations for time, like if you get double time, some people get double time on the test. If you feel like the time allotted is not enough, see me. The setting is a little, I have to remember how to change the setting. I can make sure you get your double time. But like I say, I'm pretty sure time is not going to be an issue for anyone. I'm not a big fan of timed math. Like that's not how the real world works. Like there's never going to be a time at your job when you have to do some math and someone is standing over you with a stopwatch, seeing if you're doing the problems fast enough. It's a silly thing that we do in education where we try to like test you and you got to go fast, fast, fast. You got to get these problems done really fast. I have no problem with giving you a nice big period of time to work on the exams so that, time is not going to be an issue for anybody, right? In the past, depending on the class, I've sometimes given 8 hours to complete the test. So, and that's for a test that probably could be completed by many people in an hour. So no one's going to run out of time. But if that was a concern, especially if you have accommodations, get a hold of me. I want to make sure you get your accommodations. If the school has granted you your accommodations, I want to make sure you get those. But like I say, I highly doubt anyone's going to run out of time on the exam. Okay, so but see me if it's a concern. Okay, so there will be fewer problems. I'll probably eliminate a couple of these topics, and then like I say, all these 2s will be converted to 1s for the exam. Now, this practice test is still under the homework set of rules. So that is, it gives you like 2 tries and stuff like that, like you've seen when we're doing it in class, and you're all doing the homework, so you know what it looks like. The rules will be a little bit different for the exam. You don't necessarily get as many tries and stuff like that. So make sure when you put the answer in on the actual test, it's your answer. You've already checked it. You're comfortable that it's the right answer, because you're not gonna get that second bite at the apple, right? The proverbial apple. So just think ahead. Just think about the rest of this week. Go, okay, by Sunday, when is a good time for me to take this test? If your parents are taking you out of town Saturday and you come back Sunday, then you probably don't want to take it Saturday night, right? Maybe you take it Saturday morning before you leave on your trip, and you let your parents know or whoever, hey everyone, I need a couple hours where you just let me take this test. I need it quiet. Don't interrupt me. Don't ask me to take the garbage out, stuff like that. Just let me work on my test. I'll try to get it done before the trip. Or take it when you get back. I kind of don't recommend taking the test right at the end, because then you might be stressed out and you don't have time to study and that kind of stuff. So try to get it done before that, I would say. What will happen is I probably will release the exam to you Thursday. Okay, so it'll be available to you Thursday. You'll have the way it works is you'll have between Thursday and Sunday night to take the exam. You can pick when you want to take it, but once you take it, you have a certain period of time to finish it. And like I say, I'll probably give you at least 4 or 5 hours. Sometimes in the past, I've given like 8 hours. I'll just have to see when I'm making it, but it should be plenty of time. But once you start it, then the clock is ticking for some certain number of hours till you finish it. So it's not like you can show up on Thursday, do some work, do a little more work on Friday, do a little more work on Saturday, do a little more work on Sunday. It's not going to work that way. The testing has a time period where it cuts you off. So make sure you pick that time when, like, I leave it flexible because I know you all have different work stuff going on, right? You've got you all have different job situations. You all have different family situations. You got stuff going on with school. You got friends. everyone's life is a little different. So I'm leaving it up to you when you want to take it on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, whenever works for you that's best. Like I say, if you know Sunday morning my house is going to be quiet, everyone's going to leave me alone, that's when I'm going to take the test, and that's when you should do it. Okay? But once you start the test, then it's got 4 hours to finish, 5 hours to finish, something like that, and you'll get it done. And I just want to, people get stressed out, so I want to make this clear. It's not going to take you 4 or 5 hours to do the test, or it definitely should not. It's definitely a much shorter test. And if you know these problems well, many of you will probably get it done in less than an hour, I would think. But the practice test is longer. So go through, do the practice test in the next few days. Now, I leave the practice test open. What I used to do was cut off the practice test on Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning the test would show up. But what tends to happen is that, so I'll probably release the test after class on Thursday. But what tends to happen is then I get emails where people are like, "Oh, can you open up the practice test? I want to work on some of those problems again," which is great. If people want to go back and look at the practice test as part of their studying, fine. Go ahead and do that. It's totally reasonable, right? That's one of the things you should be doing when you're studying, is going back and looking at previous work that you've done to remind yourself how the problems work. So I will actually leave the practice test open until Sunday so that you can work on it the whole time. But the actual test will become available in Delta Math Thursday, probably sometime after class, midday or somewhere around in that zone. The test will become available, and then you can choose when you work on it. But the key to remember is once you start it, then the clock is ticking, and you have so many hours to finish it. Okay? And there's a couple other few settings, like you don't get to keep trying the same problem again and again until you get it right, stuff like that, right? It's a test. It's going to test you on it. So that's basically how it's going to go. And then you'll know your score. Oh, I had mentioned a written portion of the exam, and just looking at how the class is going, I don't think that's necessary. I don't think we need to do that. So we're going to skip the written portion. Most of you are probably quite pleased about that, because it turns out the problems I was going to put on the written portion are right here in Delta Math anyways. So might as well just keep it simple. You've got one place to go take the test. There is not a written portion to the test. You'll just do the Delta Math portion. So just focus on getting ready for that. Make sure that you've got your homework up to date. If you're behind on homework, many of you are doing outstanding on the homework, most of you, all right? But if you're a little behind, now is your chance to get caught up. Some of the material we just learned, some people are still working on that. That's fine. But try to get it done by Thursday so that you understand that material. Try to get yourself caught up as much as possible. And then you can actually start studying. So sometimes people think that doing the homework is just all you need to do to study for the test. It is not. The way you should approach this is, there's a reason I've given you this practice exam. It's not because I just want you to do one more additional homework assignment. It's because you will get feedback when you do this practice exam, right? In the form of, do you know how to do the problem or not? If you are getting these problems right, like if you go in and you just blast out the first two-step equation problems, you probably know what you're doing. If you keep doing evaluate piecewise functions graphically and you get it wrong every time, then guess what? That's feedback that you don't know how to do that thing. So then you can go get help. You can come to office hours and have me work on a problem with you. You can go to the tutor center and have them help you. You can go to use that as your chance to get your 10 points here and come in here and ask a question and say, I'm really stuck. Can anyone explain how to do this? And put it here in the practice exam discussion part. Okay? And you can use it that way. So there are ways for you to get help on these problems, right? And again, don't view this as just, I've got my 10 points that I need to get, so I'm going to answer a question or leave a discussion board. Fill this up with questions and answers. Like, you are all a resource to help each other. So if you have questions, put it in there and then answer someone else's, right? Don't just think of it as the points. Think of it as, if we all work together on this, all of you students, you'll all do better on the test, right? If you all help each other through it, kind of a cooperative thing. Even though the test you have to take on your own, preparing for the test, you can work together. So what I would recommend when you're taking this practice test, have notes. Like you're probably writing on scratch paper already. Have an extra page available where you just write some notes. And you're like, I don't get this problem. I need to go back and look at it. Write down what that problem is. Maybe take a screenshot if it's going to help you remember. If you're going to ask me on any of these, please send me a screenshot, right? The descriptions I tend to get from students leave me very confused a lot of times. So if you send me a screenshot of the problem, I go, oh, I know exactly what problem you're looking at, and then I can help you figure it out. But sometimes the descriptions I get, if I get an email that says, I'm struggling with systems of equations, can you help me? Well, that's like a whole chapter. I don't know what your question is. You have to be specific. So, and a screenshot sort of fixes all that. Oh, I know what problem. You're having trouble with the evaluate piecewise functions graphically. Here's what you're looking at. Send me a screenshot and say, here's the question I'm having. That's hopefully what we're going to spend most of Thursday doing. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a not much happening. The review that we will do Thursday is student driven. Because I've done a lot of problems already. I've guided you through. There's videos for you to watch. At this point, I'm not sure what you need help with. So it's kind of not really effective for me to just get up and take a guess at what problems you need to see. If you send me emails with screenshots and an explanation of what you did on your problem, then I'm not going to call you out. I'm not going to say, I'm just making up a hypothetical person here. Jody sent me this email and this is her question that she had. I'm not going to call you out. I'm just going to say, well, a student wanted to see this question done. They wanted to see evaluate piecewise functions graphically, right? And I'll maybe have a screenshot like this that they send me. And then I'll pull up a problem and I'll work through it. But there's no point in me going over this problem if all of you understand it, right? That's just a waste of everybody's time if I'm explaining problems to you that you all already know. So the way that I'll know which ones you need to see is by you emailing me screenshots of the problems, and then I can look at it and go, oh, okay, let's talk about it next time. So what I would recommend is don't wait. Right? Again, this practice test is not due till Sunday because I want you to keep working on it, but that doesn't mean you should wait till Sunday. If you wait till Friday or Saturday or Sunday, it's not doing you any good. It's just another homework grade that you're getting, but it's not actually going to help you do better on the test. Work on these now, today, tomorrow. Send me your questions and screenshots, and then I'll have a bunch of questions. Thursday I can go, okay, these are the problems that I know students are having trouble with because you've literally asked me about them. Let's talk about them. And then I'll go over those problems, and then you will learn how to do them because, the truth is if one person emails me a question, that probably means that at least 2 or 3 of you have the same question, and sometimes it's like almost all of you have the same question. Right? So the one I keep going to, evaluate piecewise functions graphically, that's one that traditionally students are confused with. So if I get an email with one of those, I'm going to go, yeah, I bet a few students are confused with that. And then we can talk about it. If it's, linear systems from context or whatever, we can go over a couple more of those. We can go over whatever you need to see, but you're going to have to inform me as to which problems you need to see, and you can't do that till until you've worked on this a little bit. So that's why you kind of want to work on it. Like starting today, working on that would be a good idea. Even if you haven't completed all the other homework, not a bad idea to start looking at some of these problems and reminding yourself, and then finishing up the homework as you go. I'm not saying don't finish your homework, but kind of want to try to do both. Get caught up on the homework and at the same time look at this practice test so that you can send me some questions and be ready and stuff like that. So, right. So that's that. That's due, October 17th, when I think a lot of the homework's due as well. Right, a lot of that stuff is due. And then we'll have, obviously, more homework, new stuff. We'll start new stuff after the test, and we'll go from there. Let's see. Just make sure I talked about everything I wanted. So the Delta Math, you've got this practice test. The actual test will show up Thursday, probably after class, after we've done some review. You've got your discussion. Make sure that you get in here and leave a comment or question or something in here, right? It's a graded discussion. You will get points for doing it if you do a legitimate job on it. And I think that's everything. Remember, Desmos is always a good tool if you're trying to play around with graphing. Again, try to do this ethically. You're being set up so that it's not high stress. Most of you, I think, from looking at stuff, are doing things the right way. Try not to cheat on problems. Some of the problems are harder to cheat on than others because of the way they're written, but just try to do it right? Try to learn the material. That's the whole thing, is you have another algebra class after this that, I think 100% of you need to take intermediate algebra. That means you're going to have to get through that class too, right? And that class is likely not going to have online exams because of what the campus is doing. We're likely, even in hybrid and online classes, it's entirely possible you're going to have on-ground testing next semester. So you really want to make sure you understand the material, right? So, try to be ethical about it, and then you'll do well. And remember, next week there's a retake. So if you really bomb this test, you get to retake it anyways and improve that score. So it's not like it's not like it's super high stakes where you need to cheat in order to survive or something. Just try to do the right thing. Try to be ethical and see if you can succeed the right way, right? See if you can be successful the right way to do it. Okay, let's see where we've got that. That's from my statistics class. We'll see if we do this. So I guess I'd like to open it up at this point because, like I said, I don't have specific problems. We have a little bit of time left. Are there specific homework problems that you've seen that you're struggling with and you need to see me go over some more? You need to see more of a specific topic that I need to cover so that you know how to do those problems when we get to the test. Throw them into chat or raise your hand and let me know or whatever, and we can go over those. No one? Okay, then, because like I said, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to just randomly start picking problems and going over them. I guess what I'll say is for the remainder of class, what I would recommend is start the practice exam. Start going through that, and then, oh yeah, so here's a question. Will we, let's see, will we only get one try on the exam? Yeah, so I believe you'll just get, I think if I understand what you're asking about, like now when you get it wrong, it gives you one more try to get it right. I believe on the test, it's only going to give you one try. I have to remember because I haven't given a Delta math test yet this semester. But yes, I believe when you put the answer in, it's going to, you only get the one shot at it, right? So that's why it's important that you check your work. And almost every single problem that we've learned how to do in this class, it's just takes 15-20 seconds to check your work and make sure it's right before you put it into the computer. So take that extra step. That could be the difference between like a D and a B. I've seen that before where students just make a few mistakes on some problems, but because they end up getting a 0 on those problems, it's not like an in-class test where I'd be giving you partial credit. It's kind of all or nothing. The stakes on each individual problem are kind of high, so just check that it's right. If you do a systems of equations problem, just plug the solution into both equations and make sure it works. If it does, great. You're about to get some points on the test. Writing equations of lines, you can test those by plugging the points into the equation. Solving a two-step equation, check your work by plugging the value into the original equation. So the truth is, most of these problems, there's not all of them are checkable, but most of them you can check your work before you input it into the thing. By check, I don't mean just do the work again. I mean take your solution, plug it into the equation, verify that it works. that's like at least half the problems you shouldn't get wrong, because you can see if it's right or wrong before you put it into the computer by checking your work, right? There's a few of them where it's a little harder, like evaluating functions. You're just going to have to like do it a second time and see if you got the same thing. But a lot of them, solving linear systems, anything with linear systems, well, not quite everything. I guess not where you write the equations, but any of the ones where you're solving systems of equations, you should know if that's right or wrong before you put it into the computer. So don't miss those. Solving equations, you should know if that's right or wrong before you put it in there by checking it. And there's a few other ones that you won't know 100%, but just take a minute to look at it, verify that you're doing it right, and kind of go from there. Like, don't rush through it. Those points are going to be meaningful. And then hopefully you do well and you don't have to take the retake next week. That would be great, right? No retakes. But you have that safety net if you need it. Okay? So then I guess if there's any more questions, feel free to throw them into chat. Otherwise, what we will do, we've got, about 20 minutes left of class. What I will say is use this time to start the practice test, and then I'm going to close the YouTube stream, but I will leave Zoom open. So if you're working on the practice test and you just reach one where you like don't know what's going on, come into Zoom and I'll help you with it. Okay? Try to get the problem yourself first. But by all means, if like once you've put effort into a problem and you've really tried to solve it, not just you read it and you're like, I don't know, that looks confusing. Like, put some legitimate effort into trying to solve it. And if you're stuck, then come ask me questions, right? Come ask me how to do it. Let's see, another question here. Also, will the problems material on the practice exam be the same types of problems on the actual test? I never guarantee that it's going to be exactly the same, but they'll be similar, right? So it'll be similar types of problems. Obviously, the numbers will be changed. I'll probably remove a few of these types of problems, but by and large, you can expect it to be largely similar, right? I don't guarantee that it's a mirror copy, that the actual test is like the practice test. But overall, it covers pretty much what we've covered, right? It's got lines, equations of lines, graphing lines. It's got functions, evaluating functions, both algebraically and graphically. It's got linear systems, solving systems of equations, linear inequalities. It's kind of everything we've covered. So in a sense, it pretty much covers everything. But the test will be by and large similar to this. But what you don't want to do is get so secure that you're like, oh, this one problem, he didn't ask it on the practice test, so I don't have to learn how to do it, because I might switch out one problem and pick that one that you're talking about. So don't just memorize these problems. Go for understanding. Try to understand how the math is working so that you can do all of the problems, not just memorize that one that you were looking at, right? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then I'm closing down the YouTube stream. Please start that for the next 20 minutes. At least start looking over the practice exam. And then if you have any questions, I'm in Zoom. Talk to me. And then try to get the practice exam largely done by Thursday, because, again, Thursday's class is going to be basically made up of me answering the questions that you've sent to me. If no one works on this and nobody sends me questions, then we're just kind of going to be looking at each other for 50 minutes, right? Which won't be very productive. So we have to complete the practice exam before the actual exam. I mean, you don't have to, but it's a bad idea. So the question is, so we have to complete the practice exam before the actual exam. You should. Like, that's the whole point of it, right? I have students that do that too, where they'll come to me and say, they take the test, and then they're like, okay, now I'm going to do the homework. Well, you're supposed to do it the other way around. If you do the homework first, you'll be more knowledgeable and get more problems right when you take the test. It's the same with the practice test. Why would you do the practice exam after the actual exam? If you do the practice exam, it's going to prepare you for the actual exam. That's the whole reason we do it, right? So technically, you don't have to do the practice exam first, but it's a bad idea to do it last. Right? That's not really going to work out for you. Okay? So I'll just be here in Zoom. If you want to ask me a question, feel free to come ask me questions.